we have Kelleigh Helm. She's with the Practices and Policies team.
I'm Kelleigh Helm with the Practices and Policies team. I'm a new member along with Catherine Muntz and Matt Samuelson, and I'm going to talk a bit about our Law Atlas searchable oil and gas database. And so we all know that this is not a regional issue, that many states are involved in the shale oil and hydraulic fracturing. Okay, so there's been a great increase in unconventional oil and gas development in the number of wells, and then also their proximity to major metropolitan areas and human populations. And there's a lot of information released. This is an oil and gas report about hydraulic fracturing, and usually it's painted with a broad brush. Like I said, there's a lot of people who are anti-fracking or a lot of people really pro-fracking, and it's really tough to understand what the regulations are. So this is the end of an ad from for the American Petroleum Institute that was shot in Dillon, Colorado, and they release a fair amount of information, and I'm going to show you a slide of that later. This is Denver, and the red is active oil gas wells as of February 8th, 2015, and the yellow are municipalities. So it's getting closer to people. People are getting more concerned about what's going on, and they're getting a lot of information like this from the American Petroleum Institute stating what the permitting regulations are in Pennsylvania with no sort of reference as to where any of this information comes from or the statutes that are behind it. And so people wonder, you know, what are the laws like in my state? How might we change them for the better? So the Law Atlas database that we're using is to make publicly available and searchable shale oil and shale gas laws pertaining to water quality, quantity, and air quality. So this is our sort of homepage where you can start your investigation. And the way that I thought about going through this is posing a hypothetical question and then looking at how someone might find the answer to it. So we're gonna look at which states require water testing before hydraulic fracturing, which we all know is really important in making a case for any kind of water contamination. You have to know what you started with before you can find out you know, what was caused by potential oil and gas development. So if we're gonna look for an answer to this question, we're gonna go to the Permitting Design tab within Water Quality and hit the Start Here button. And that's gonna bring up a list of issues that you can choose from that are here. And so we would select baseline water testing. And like I said, really important if you're gonna establish any sort of water contamination issue within within a state. Okay, so when you get to that, you have to select, okay, so we're looking for, in this instance, just any sort of baseline water testing. But as you can see through here, you can pick and further narrow down through only specific jurisdictions or only for injection wells do they require baseline testing. And I want to point out here that also as you go through and narrow down your search parameters looking for your jurisdictions that have regulations, it'll tell you at the bottom of the screen how many jurisdictions are found that have that going on, so you don't get to the end and say, well, there are no states, there are no jurisdictions that have this policy, so we can't compare it to anything. And so these are just other ways that you can narrow down your parameters. So if you were only looking for surface water testing before hydraulic fracturing, then that's what you would find. And these are the results that you end up seeing at the end. You can export it into Excel. You can use the map function to look, or as I really enjoy, the view the law button, because I'm kind of a nerd and like statutes, you can read the original statutory text to see what it actually says and not just what someone tells you that the statutes say. And also really useful if you're trying to create any sort of model statutes or go through the law. And this Thursday, excited to report that we just released our air quality data set. And this looks at 12 states and their laws pertaining to air quality and hydraulic fracturing. And since these are some of the parameters that you could search through if you were interested in what are the requirements in my state for natural gas storage tanks emissions. And you could find those really easily, and all of this was exceptionally difficult to find if you had to go through the regular state websites and other Westlaw statutory means. So it's a great way for people to compare states and to improve the regulatory regimes in these places. Thank you.